See the link.
All right. Good
You can't see
evening.
the link.
At this time, I'd like to call to order the Wednesday,
Deborah
June
Keys.
26th regular board meeting of the Warrensville Heights City School District. Dr. Rock, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Gator,
Here.
Mrs. Newman,
Here.
Ms. Mitchell,
Here.
Mr. Freeman,
Here.
and Mr. Roberts.
Here. Next, would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? It's usually over here.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, let's do it over. Next, we come to item 1.3, approval of the agenda. Before we move to the approval, are there any additions to the agenda?
Good evening, Board Chair. If we can add to the very end of the agenda, the resignation of Board Member Tracy Mitchell.
Do I have a second to the?
A second.
All right, it's been properly moved and seconded that we add Ms. Mitchell's resignation to the end of today's agenda. Dr. Rock, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Newman? Yes. Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell,
Yeah.
Mrs. Gator,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts.
If we must, yes. All right, so with that addition, do I have an motion to approve the agenda?
Mr. Chair, I move with that addition to tonight's agenda that we approve the June 26th regular board meeting agenda.
I'll second.
All right, it's been properly moved and seconded. Dr. Rock, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mrs. Newman? Yes. Mrs. Gator,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Next, we have 1.4, the approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I move that we approve item 1.4, which is the approval of the minutes for May 18th, 22nd, and May 8th.
Thank you. Is there a second? All right, it's been properly moved and seconded. Dr. Rock, would you please call the roll?
Who seconded that? I'm sorry.
Ms. Newman?
Newman.
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Mrs. Newman? Yes. Ms. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mrs. Gator,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Next on the agenda, we have public participation. Did we receive any cards?
No, we received no cards, sir.
All right. Next, we will move item 1.6, board reports. Mrs. Gator, did you have a report that you wanted to give?
You can call it a report. So I wanted to ask the board, if you guys remember, year before last, we did the greeting card contest. We didn't do it last year because there was a lot going on with the new schools and stuff. So I'd like to ask the board if you would agree to asking Mr. Jolly and his staff to go ahead and get started with the greeting card contest again. Same rules would apply. We would, come up with gift cards for the winners. But we would start as soon as school starts with putting the information out there and trying to get it done sooner, like before Thanksgiving.
Very good.
Any concerns with that, board?
That was an excellent idea.
Okay, all right, thank you. Then, Mr. Jolly, I'll touch base with you one day next week. That's
Yes,
okay?
ma'am.
All right, thank you.
All right.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Gator. At this time, I'd like to move to item 1.7, the superintendent report.
Yes, I'd like to greet the community today on this day that we have to say goodbye to our esteemed board member, Ms. Tracy Mitchell, who has served us with honor, with respect, with wisdom for 8 years. Ms. Mitchell and myself started on the board at the same time. I started as superintendent. She started a couple months later. It's been such a joyous, and I tell her all the time, journey with her. As a boss, because she's a great boss, as the whole board is, but she served as president for an extended period of time, and we worked very close together through Our Beechwood case, we worked closely through all the levies and the construction. Ms. Mitchell was right there at the table, working and using her extensive knowledge to ensure that our district was in a better place. If you look at our funds, you look at our buildings, you look at our scores, Ms. Mitchell was very instrumental in all of the growth of our district. So I just wanted to publicly say thank you, Ms. Mitchell, for everything, and ask the public if you can give her a round of applause. And I know she'll get her time to speak at the end of the meeting, but I just want you guys to know how special she is, and for her to serve and to do the things she's done, it's just been an honor. And she's going to be truly, truly, truly missed, and just for me, truly missed, because we talked almost every day. She, I run all kind of ideas by her, and she was a great sounding board for buying the church and all these different things that we've done. So she's going to be missed. So I do want to go through today, just want to go over some scores. This year, again, we have not went over our test scores. So I want to review them just to show where we do need some work. We have some areas of concern that we definitely are addressing. And we have some great areas of growth. I do want to remind this board worked on what our vision is, which is very crucial to our work, is inspiring confidence and encouraging success. Um, we all believe if we can get our kids confident, that they will be successful. And I think we've done a great job in ensuring that and working on that on a daily basis. And our mission to create an educational environment that promotes curiosity, critical thinking, communication, collaboration while empowering scholars to be responsible, contributing members of our community and nation and world. This district does a great job. How many alumni that we have around? We got probably a lot of alumni here. We hired 2 today. We got our mayor here as an alumni. We have some community members, the CFO of the city. Our community produces great people. And we are continuing to do that, even with our senior class this year, with students going all the way to UCLA, to Loyola, in New Orleans, to Kent State. They're going all over the country. And that's attributed to this school district and this community and the hard work that everyone has put in to ensure our kids have the best. Next slide. So our goal is 7% proficiency in reading and math every year. Our strategy is that we implement a multi-tier system of support for all scholars. So we have a tier 1, which is our curriculum that we implement on a daily basis. Our tier 2 is when we work in collaborative groups with our students, such as our new instruction. And our tier 3 is intensive support that we have throughout our district. Next slide. So, and basically what our work is that we look at each child as individual, and I'll just summarize it without reading it. And everybody is different. So what we do is throughout the school year, we do assessments, which is like when you go to the doctor and the doctor figure out what's wrong or what's right. And with that, each child gets a plan of action. Our elementary school, we use our multiple assessments to determine how are we going to help this child grow. So that's basically our process: assess, plan, grow, and our students will see that success prayerfully on the end of the year assessments. And then again, you can't go far without a railroad, which is the tracks. That's the plan. You can't, without a plan, you can't win. And that's basically in essence what this is saying. Next slide. So let's go through the scores. There's some areas of disappointment, but there's some real areas of growth. So let's move to the next slide. So if you see our 3rd grade scores, and coming off COVID was in 2021, they decreased slightly, a percentage, 1.some%. Our 4th grade ELA scores have grew. Our fifth grade ELA scores grew. Our sixth grade ELA scores are stagnant. Our seventh grade ELA scores dropped. Our eighth grade ELA scores dropped. And our English 2 at the high school dropped 3%. Again, if you go back to that slide, there will be intensive support provided, um, intensive plans, because going backwards is not acceptable in any grade level and will not be tolerated by our administration or board. Next slide. Oh, go to the same slide. Go ahead, go to the next. Math, you was right there. So if you can see our math scores in third grade, kind of bottom out. They were 35 2 years ago. They went up last year. Plateaued about 34%. Our math scores in fourth grade dropped 5%. Fifth grade, an increase of 14%. Our real concern is sixth grade, the 14%, which is totally unacceptable. Seventh grade, a slight increase. Eighth grade, a drop. If you notice, our eighth grade, this is our eighth grade students who take algebra. 88% of them did pass the test, which is a great increase. Our high school algebra, a 20% increase, and our geometry was a 14% increase. So there's a lot of great work going on, but again, we have to be more intentional and intensive in what we do. Science, fifth grade science, you see it's an increase. Our eighth grade science is stagnant. Biology increased, as you can see, 16%. American history increased 7%, and our American government increased 9%. Next slide. Those are all the OST scores. So I wanted to go over the scores because we had not reviewed the scores. They are finalized at this point. There will be school improvement plans that will be turned in by August 1st that I will share with the board. I also will share the plan of action in grade levels that decreased. We are not really used to having large decreases in scoring. A lot of it we can attribute to a lot. It was a lot of transition this year. We're moving to the new building and different things. But again, there's no excuses. We have to continue to grow and improve those scores. So at this time, I'm open to any questions from the board.
Mr. Jolly, I do have a question. The seventh and the eighth graders are having problems with math and English. Mm-hmm. Is it instructional, or is it the children just are not able to pick up what they're
I never want to say the students can't pick up the information. I do think there was some transition in the grades. There were some teachers who left early. And again, I just think the transition to the new middle school was a little overwhelming for some of the students. Going from John Dewey to a big new school, that transition took a little longer than anticipated.
So the open classrooms might have been a bit of a distraction.
Yeah, I think the glass was probably a little distraction for people to get used to the glass, and then just the openness of the building. So I believe that we start to write it at the end of the year, and it'll be, I think, a great start. We are adding a new assistant principal at the elementary school. We adding some other supports at the middle school. At the middle school. So we should see marked improvement in all areas at the middle school.
I have one question, and it may not be a question. I'm looking at the age group for the 7th and 8th graders, and I know how difficult for them to stay on task. So my question would be, do we have tutors that could be work with a small group, like a 5 or 6 group, that can help them?
Yeah, so I know the middle school had an intervention block at the end of the day, but this year we definitely going to be more intentional on who gets tutored and when. Using all of our resources. I probably will present a plan. I will present a plan where if we have some high school students, seniors, that we could possibly use to go back and help our 8th graders or our 6th graders. They're all in the same building. We're going to come with some creative ideas this year where we might not always have, we can use our own resources to make that happen. Again, we got a baseline, and now we know what we have to do to improve. Yes, ma'am.
So is I believe you said it was like you've got a plan in place. So is that per student or is that for the grade level?
So it's going to be the school first, so the
Okay.
school overall plan, then by subject, and then once we start assessing students, it'll end up being by student.
Okay.
So it's a 3-tier process, which the school will have a school improvement plan. Then once we start making assessments, then we will start to have different intervention groups that would be based on each individual student.
So will that also include parents being engaged with the students' learning? Because we've struggled with that in the past, you know.
Yeah, so I think that's another area which we are going to really push harder for our parents to truly be engaged in the learning. They are engaged in the sports and other things, but really getting them back at the table so that this is a collaborative effort, not just the school district doing everything. And a lot of times we do a lot, and we need to really engage them to do more.
Thank you.
Superintendent Jolly, quick question. I know when we start school, and we'll be starting this August, your assessments are within the first 2 weeks of school?
So there will be an assessment early, but then we will have a benchmark assessment at the end of the first quarter. And then there's one after every quarter, which assesses what was taught. So we do have a scope and sequence which lays out what is supposed to be taught that quarter. And then from that, we assess it. And then that information is used for two things, for student intervention and also to provide support for our teachers.
Thank you, sir.
Any further questions from the board? All right, hearing none. Mr. Jolly, that concludes your report? All right,
Yes,
thank
it
you.
does. Thank
Thank you, sir. All right, we'll move on to item 1.8, Dr. Rock with the treasurer report.
Okay. So tonight, every June, the district files its year-end appropriations and year-end reports. Our year-end close, it involves 46 funds with over 8,600 accounts. All of the funds have been closed out and they all have a positive balance. Year-end appropriations are included. And what we do now is we have to file this. The state auditor requires us to have it in the last board meeting of June, which is before the last day of the fiscal year. The last day of the fiscal year is June 30th. So we have to true up all the numbers as close as we can to actual, and then we still have to budget for the final days of the year. So that's how the process works. Next slide, please. So the year-end appropriations, our year-end appropriations do not exceed the certified resources, which is the requirement. And also at the end of the year, we have advances, which are loans to other funds where the revenue is expected and anticipated to be received in the new fiscal year. So at the end of the year, the fund ends in a negative balance. The general fund loans makes an advance, a loan, and then that's repaid back in the new fiscal year. So that's what advances are. Transfers are where the general fund just transfers funding over to a fund that isn't sufficient to cover itself. Typically, and the transfers are typically for us, it's been recreation, athletics, and the PI maintenance fund. And the PI maintenance fund is required by the OFCC as long as we have bond finance. So the operating transfers include the final accounting for construction, which was Fund 10 and Fund 004. Fund 10 was the OFCC local and state share. So that's where we were getting our, it was almost a total of almost $20 million for both projects from the state. So that had to be recorded in 010. And then any of the base costs of the buildings that we built were in that section also. Then 004 was our LFIs. And we haven't said that, but those three letters for a long time, because the construction is pretty much done. But LFI was a locally financed initiatives. In other words, that means the district paid for 100% of that. So the LFIs were in 004, and that's the surviving fund right now. So Fund 010 is totally expended now. In addition to that, when we passed our levies, every school district has to put aside 1/2 of a mil into a maintenance fund that's utilized to maintain the buildings. If there's like something that needs to be maintained while the buildings go through their lives, and it's during the whole time of the finance. So that fund will go on for the next 29 years, 28, 29 years, depending on if we refinance again. But I mean, we started well over 30 years before. So, and the advances are for funds that have I just explained that. So state grants are usually a popular one for advances. In other words, the state will have a grant with us, and we spend the money within the requirements of the grant, but then we spend the money, and then we file for a reimbursement. And when we file for a reimbursement, that's called a PCR. That's a project cash request for reimbursement. So at the end of the year, we may have spent the money, but we haven't received the reimbursement back from the state. So the general fund will make an advance to cover the negative balances there. Operating transfers, luckily for this year, we just have one, and it's in our recreation fund. It's a small amount, $15,000, to just keep that fund afloat. Next slide, please. Intra-fund transfers, these are transfers that are within the same fund, but in funds we have things that we call special cost centers. And for this, in our construction, it was based on when the financing came in. So we had financing come in 2018 was when the big bond passed. We had another arm of financing coming in real fast in 2018, and then the eventual bonds were more towards 2020. And then we had, 2018 was the COPS for the elementary school, then 2020, 2021. So we had all these accounts with these special cost centers, and that had to be reallocated. So those were transfers within the same fund. And that's just saying that, we had, because every one of those special cost centers has a cash account. And that's so we could track those lines. But then now that the construction's done, this was like a cleanup to align everything. And again, when we did this, we knew how much we were getting from the state, but as the construction was going on, we really didn't know how much the local base was. I mean, like, they had the totals, but we never knew the allocation. So along the way, it was an estimate and projection that we were making along the way. So then at the end, when the state says, hey, you hit your balance, which we did, then everything goes to 004. Now it's time to take all that accounting and collect everything between these two funds. Next slide, please. Temporary appropriations. We also do those at the end of the year. And what that is that gives us our spending, allows us to spend between July to September while we're establishing the permanent appropriations for the school district, which are due by September 30th. So that's also in the packet. Final thoughts. Another year spending within current resources is our 15th consecutive year. And again, when we spend within current resources, that means current revenue and current expenditures. The current expenditures are less than the revenue. So it leaves a portion left over, and then that accumulates. And accumulating that is very favorable for our district because that prevents the need for any adjustments to revenue, or the need to ask for more revenue, or the reverse of that would be the need to make reductions. So we control our own destiny by spending within current resources, and that boils down to leadership, board governance. We're all working together to make sure that we maintain that. And we've even established a policy that where we look at that, Mr. Jolly and I look at that in the 5-year forecast and keep tabs on that. And we established that after a result of meeting with Moody's investors. And then we came back to them, we said, well, here's our policies. They were and they gave us great kudos and for our fiscal stewardship for the district. So that completes the section.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rock. Are there any questions, board?
Mr. President, I do have a comment. Dr.
Yes,
Rock,
sir.
I want to thank you for, in these last almost 9 years, you made sure this district's in financial secure on everything we do, even with the buildings, even when we had the Ohio Commission. They told us how good job you did on the funding and making sure everything was done. And with your staff, Marie, I just want to give you kudos for making sure that we are always on top of our financing for the building and for our students. So.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated, especially this is our busiest time of the year. Because in essence, we're looking at 2 years of books. We're trying to close the existing books, and and everything's landing as a healthy, last year I put a healthy checkup from Dr. Rock. It still stands, we're still healthy.
Great job.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rock. As we move into section number 2, I would like to bring to the attention of the board that item 2.4, the renewal of the levy, will call for a separate vote. We can do all the others by consent agenda. So moving into section 2, do I have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I move that we accept items 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, 2.5, and I think it stops at 2.6 and 2.7 under the Treasurer's Report and Financial Recommendation.
And I'll second that.
All right, thank you very much. It's been properly moved and seconded. Dr. Rock, would you please call the roll?
Excuse me,
I'm
I'm so sorry. We have to take 2.4 out. 2.4 has to be a separate vote.
Self, correct.
I took it
She-
out.
she
Oh, did you?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, it sounded like you said
Yes,
2.4.
ma'am.
I apologize.
Yeah, Mrs. Gator said 2.1, 2.2, 3.3, and then 2.4.
Okay.
My apologies. I
Yes,
could have said it separately, differently. But
That's all right.
It's okay to proceed?
Yes, sir.
Roll call. Mrs. Moomin?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mrs. Gator?
yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Now, could we have a motion for item 2.4, please?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve item 2.4, the resolution to proceed with the submission to the electors for the emergency levy renewal.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you very much. It's been properly moved and seconded. Dr. Rock, would you please call the roll?
Excuse me.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. Can we have discussion about that before we
Sure.
call the
Yes,
roll?
ma'am.
I just, since this is 2.4, right? Can you just explain why this is an emergency? Oh, no, I'm sorry. I thought that we were talking about the rec center payment, so I apologize.
It's got to be in by June
Go right
30th.
ahead.
Right, Dr. Rock?
My
Yes.
apologies.
Dr. Rock?
So it's okay to proceed?
Yes, sir.
Yes, my apologies.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Mrs. Moomin?
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mrs. Gator?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Next, that brings us to section 3. Superintendent's recommendation and presentations for board action, administrative staff. Board, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move that we approve by consent agenda superintendent's recommendations and presentations for board action administrative staff, items 3.1, 3.2, and 3.3.
Do we have a second?
I second.
All right, it has been properly moved and seconded. Mr. Jolly?
Yes, I'd like to, can I add on 3.1? Well, no, yeah, I still need the salary on 3.1.
I'm sorry, what was that?
3.1, 3.2, the salary should be A1 for the salary of 3.2. 3.2.
And it's coming out of the general fund.
Oh,
Yeah, it's coming out of the general fund, we didn't add that.
so, and I'm sorry, what is the salary?
It's A1, it's in the scale.
A1?
Yes. 3.2 is the renewal, 3.1 is the renewal of Roxanne Lozar as our Director of Curriculum Assessment and our Needs-Specific Data Assessment Coordinator. 3.2 is the hiring of our new middle school assistant principal. The new middle school assistant principal is a graduate of Warrensville High School, I believe class of 2006. The recommendation, he's here today, so we will ask him to come up. The recommendation is based upon, he did go through, not yet, extensive interview process where he came out as the best candidate. He brings to us a lot of enthusiasm, and we look forward to him coming to the district to help us with that plan to continue to assist our middle school. And then 3.3, we had to extend the school year for 2 days for our fire tech program. Since we partner with Auburn, they did not end to the 7th. So our teacher had an additional 2 days out there. So those 2 days are on this agenda.
All right, thank you, Mr.
All
Jolly.
right.
Board, questions, concerns, comments?
Nope.
All right, Dr. Rock, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Moomin,
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Mrs. Gator,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts.
Yes, motion passes 5-0.
All right, Mr. Walker, if you could come up and say a few words. Okay.
Just move forward with exactly what we was doing in high school. I'm very excited about the opportunity. Really plan to dig in hard to those schools so we can right the ship, get those test scores where they need to be, get the culture where it needs to be, so that at this point when you're looking at these slides, seventh, eighth, sixth, seventh, eighth grade is such a huge lift. I want to actually want us to be the flagship of what we're doing right now. So
Yes, sir.
my goal is to give y'all every drop of sweat, tears, energy, and effort to make sure that those efforts are through next time we do put it over the cross. So I'm excited and can't wait till we start the school year.
Thank you very much,
Welcome
Mr. Walker.
aboard.
Welcome aboard.
Very much.
All right, next, I'd like to move to section number 4. Board, do we have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I move that we accept item 4, superintendent's recommendations and presentations for board action certificated staff. That's 4.1 through 4.5.
I second.
Thank you very much. It's been properly moved and seconded. Mr. Jolly?
Yes, 4.1 is the resignation of some staff members who moved on to different districts. 4.2 is the employment of new staff members to our district. I believe we have some here today, Ms. Bishop, and I see some other principals here. Ms. Salters is also here. 4.3 is our resident educator stipend, which is contract year. 4.4 is our non-coaching supplementals. These are from our TSL grant, which is expired this year, but these are the teachers who participated and staff members. 4.3 is 4.5 is cultural supplemental. This is an addition who picked up at the assistant track position during the season.
Board, any questions?
Exactly what are they doing?
So the onboarding team, we have, you want to come up and speak to the onboarding team, please? Thank you. Yeah, he's one of the best members of the onboarding team. Just to give us a little update of what you do.
So good evening, board.
Good evening.
As a member of the onboarding team, each of the individual schools have representatives that work to make sure that our newest members get to learn the Warrensville way. Whether it be having one-on-one communication with them, helping them find different things like where's the bathroom at, or how to make copies and things of that nature. We ensure that once a quarter or every so often that we meet with them in order to keep them on track and keep them involved in the community. So we'll say like, hey, on the last Wednesday, that's when the board meets. Come up to the board and find out what's going on in your district. Or on the second and fourth Wednesdays, that's when we have our staff meetings. Make sure you're there. This is what's expected.
Thank you so much, Mr. Eman. Thank you.
I have one quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
So I see we've got resignations, and I get that we have resignations every year, but we do exit surveys, right? Yes
Ms.
or no?
Hunt, sometimes depending on the circumstance, sometimes people resign after school is out and we don't have the opportunity. But if it's during school, like I know one person's moving to Alabama, I know another person is moving to Solon, I know another person is moving to, I'm not sure I heard Cleveland Heights. So we are aware that people are moving. Some people see other opportunities in other districts. Some are promotions. And when they resign during the school year, we do have the opportunity to speak to them. But if it's in the summer, we don't.
So what do we do with the exit survey? How do we benefit?
I think the onboarding team is the result of that. The onboarding team of making people feel comfortable, giving them the resources they need. I think a lot of times, and just in the past, sometimes the adjustment to the district is rough for some people. But I think with the onboarding team, I know with the onboarding team, we come up, Mr. Eman, that was the strategy to retain people, to retain our staff members.
So, I came to the district 5 years ago, and what we have as an onboarding team now is completely different than what my onboarding process was. Before, we were in a room, and we kind of sat there all day, got our information. Now you have individuals that go out and try to troubleshoot some of those issues so that we don't have a number of people coming up before the board as resigning from the district. You know, we'll try to say, like, what's going on? How can I be of service to you? If I can't be of service to you, who can I direct you to so that you can get that question answered or address your concerns?
Okay. All right. And we're finding that this, is there data showing that this is helping to retain people?
I
Or is
think
it still too early?
we can gather, I think it's early, but we can gather some data to definitely show where we're going.
We want people to stay, you know, we want them to feel, you know, invested in the district. We're investing in them, so we want them to feel vested. So I guess I'm asking because if there's something more that needs to happen to help people, you know, want to stay, whether, you know, going to another district or, yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. This is the first year in which we're starting this, so moving forward, we'll have some of that data for you. And one of the things that we try to do, at least at the high school, as a member of the onboarding team, we give a Google form and say, okay, what's going on after this event, or things of that nature, and then that information is relayed to the Human Resources Department. So they kind of have an idea, at least, of what's going on here, and then if necessary, we can spread that information down to the other schools.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Eman.
Yeah, Mr. Eman.
Board, any more questions? Any more questions? All right, Dr. Rock.
Are we on number 5?
Four.
No, we're
Four.
on a roll on.
4.
Ms. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mrs. Blumen,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Mrs. Gator,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Would any of our new teachers like to speak as well?
Come on up there.
Okay, we're back again.
All right.
And just real quick, to Ms. Gator, sometimes resignations are a good thing.
I get that.
Okay, so
I
just-
understand that. But there's not always, so.
But, you know, when people come to Warrensville, they do stay. We have some people that have left, and I got to talk from other districts saying, why would they leave Warrensville? I said, exactly. So, you know, we always want to encourage the people that are helping us on this journey. And then we also can encourage people to leave that's not the ones who understand. Now, having said that, we have Mr. Butler here. He is coming from, and I'll let him share from the business world. He will be adding to our science department. He's already come to our end of the year celebration. He's been there at the building. And so to add to our biology piece, we're going to make sure that, again, he's here and on board with us. So I'll let him share.
Good evening, board members.
Good evening, Ms. Villa.
So, yeah, I spent about 30 years in various environmental and engineering services. So that's 17 years at a project manager and engineering company here in Cleveland. Like a lot of folks with the pandemic, I was like, do I really want to keep doing this, or I want to do something that makes more of a difference? And so I found a program through CSU to get my master's in education, my license, and I'll tell you the HR department at the career fair that CSU had, they sold Warrensville. They sold Warrensville, the school district. All the folks I talked to, this was the top place, top on my list to try to hire. So I'm very grateful for the opportunity. Look forward to working with principals of the district.
All right.
Nice. Well, welcome
Thank you.
aboard. Welcome.
We always have a little bit of gifts to give as they come. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for choosing.
Welcome
Warrensville, Ms.
aboard.
Villa. All right, that brings us to section.
We got one more.
I'm sorry. I
It's
apologize. All right. More new recruits.
Good evening.
We also have Ms. Bertucci here, who is from a Christian school. We're excited to have her on board. This coming year, we are going to keep all of our students with disabilities at the Early Childhood Center. This past year, they were sent over to the elementary school. So we are adding on, 3 new classes at the Early Childhood Center for our students with special needs.
Okay.
Hi, Laura. Thank you for having me. I look forward to servicing these girls and making a great difference in their lives so that when they transition to the new building, they're ready to rock and roll.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you very much and welcome
Last
aboard.
week I got some goodies, but she already asked for her IEPs at a class, so she can start planning in the summer, so that's her.
She came to the meeting and got some work.
Welcome.
All right.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you. She left with some work. All right, that brings us to section 5. Board, do we have a motion here?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion for item number 5, consent.
Wait a minute, I'm sorry, Mr. Freeman.
I was saying, do we have somebody, any other new employees?
I didn't want to miss anyone.
We got one coming to classify, but we'll get him on the next one.
All right, excuse me, Mr. Freeman, please
It's all
continue.
right. Item number 5, under superintendent's consent, agenda recommendation and presentation for board action, classified staff, looking for items 5.1 through 5.5.
I second.
All right, it's been properly moved and seconded. Mr. Jolly?
Yes, 5.1 is the resignation of the executive assistant in the curriculum department. 5.2 is the hiring of 2 new educational aides. One is here today, which is a graduate of Warrensville Heights. He's been here since we've been here. 5.3 is the hiring of it's the reclassification of someone from a transportation aide to a cleaner custodian. 5.4 is extended school year, which by students' IEPs, we have to provide services. 5.5 is summer recreation. This summer we have tumbling and we have wrestling for our youth. So these are 2 instructors for both of those.
Thank you, Mr. Jolly. Board, any questions for
One quick
Ms. Daniel?
question. On 5.3, the reclassification, is that just for the summer or is that?
I think that's for the
Good.
duration of their
Okay.
time here.
Any others?
And that's a promotion, actually. They get more
Yeah.
hours and more money for that
Thank you.
position.
Mr. Chair.
Yes. Any others? All right, Dr. Rock, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mrs. Moomin,
Yes.
Mrs. Gator,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Mr. Scar?
Mr. Scurry, come on up, sir. Glad to see him.
All right, Anthony.
Welcome back.
Mr. Scurry was a wrestler at the high school. I think you went state, didn't you?
I went to the state tournament in 2016 with DR7.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Yep. So we're glad to have you back.
Well, to start off, it feels good. It feels so good to be home. I've been gone since 2017, trying to just gain some experience and knowledge and wisdom and bring it back home. I've gone out to be the change I want to see in the world. Come back to that this year. I've been working in behaviors since I graduated with my master's. I'm a master's with my bachelor's degree in psychology, so hopefully I can help out some women at the elementary school as a very special.
Thank you, Mr. Scurry, and welcome back.
Congratulations.
All right, that takes us to section number 6. Board, do I have a motion here?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I move that we accept item 6 as a consent agenda, superintendent's recommendation and presentations for personnel and programs, items 6.1 through 6.6.
All right, it's been properly moved and seconded. Mr. Jolly?
Yes, 6.1 is the renewal of our MOU with the Heights Consortium. For those that don't know, we are affiliated with 4 different school districts to provide career tech services. The contract did end this year. This contract is excluding Bedford. Bedford did withdraw from the consortium. So this is just us, Cleveland Heights, Shaker, and Maple Heights. 6.2 is a suspension appeal to affirm the suspension appeal. 6.3 is the first reading of our volume 42, number 2 of our policies. 6.4, this is an important one, I gotta turn in tomorrow, is our OSSA renewal. We have till the 30th, so this will be the first thing we do in the morning to get that in. 6.5 is the amendment for PSI. This is services that we provide, and as happens, people get assigned to us that's outside that we didn't account for, and then we have to cover the cost. 6.6 is the contract for the ESC. This is to provide, and the Board President Roberts can speak more to it, but to provide the evaluation of superintendent and treasurer. Board President Roberts, you want to add to it?
Yes, sir. This would be a follow-on of the consultation we had with the gentleman from ESC during our retreat, and this will be entering into a contract to continuing those services on a continuing basis.
Mr. Chair, can I ask one question?
Yes, ma'am.
So continuing basis, or will this be something that you guys will do as a learning opportunity and then be able to have that come back to become a board responsibility?
Well, our current intent is to have this contract for this year, work with the facilitators, grasp what we can grasp as we go, and then institute board policies that incorporate that information.
But we have board policies that's speak to it
Evaluation.
already. Yeah.
We just update them and push them forward.
Okay.
Wait, say that again about the board policies. I'm sorry. What are we saying about the policy?
We're saying we would incorporate any information that we glean from working with the facilitators into our own policies.
So like our own, not policy, but procedures
Evaluation.
that we, I'm just clarifying.
Probably yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mimi, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, when we had Steve Farnsworth and we did our board retreat, we wanted to get the board, and especially our evaluations on our two employees, the Superintendent Jolly and our CEO and Treasurer, Dr. Rock. So when Board President Roberts talked to them, they discussed how they could get us on the right path to actually have it in coordinates with our schedule. So, we have to have our summative and our formative at the same time, and this is catching us up. I mean, we have evaluations, but we haven't been on the same accord. And Board President Mitchell had stated that to us about 3 years ago. This gets us caught up.
So we weren't on the same accord last year. I think the other years we were pretty much on the same accord, but I think my biggest concern is the overall cost to do this. And what I'm looking at, so you might have to clarify this for me, Earl. What I'm looking at is they were only going to charge a third of that to do an evaluation, like part of the retreat.
Right.
So if we were just going to do a formative as a retreat, and then a summative as a retreat, we could save the district $2,000 if we did it that way.
Well, in actuality, the retreat was a one-time, one-day, 4-hour situation. This would be like an ongoing consultation. So in actuality, we'd be actually paying less per hour, per time frame than we did for the actual retreat.
Have we checked with any other vendors to see, like OSBA or anybody else, just to see if what they would?
Mr. Gator, I thought you had called out for OSBA.
Not for this specifically, for the contract that they're doing. I know that when I spoke with Steve Farnsworth, he mentioned that, another portion of this would be that he would basically be on call for us. We already get that service through OSBA though. I will say this, if we're gonna go with ESC and utilize ESC services for board development, being able to call Steve if we've got questions, then I think we would all need to agree that ESC and Steve Farnsworth is who we're gonna reach out to. Right. Because I typically will call OSBA, and I don't wanna call OSBA for guidance, and everybody else is going to Steve Farnsworth because it may not be the same guidance.
Is this for evaluations only?
No, when I spoke to Steve Farnsworth, he said They will walk everybody through the evaluation process.
Okay.
And I will say, with a new school board member coming on board, I think it's gonna be important to get them going with the evaluation process. So I'm all on board with having somebody to do the evaluations.
Right.
I just think we should probably look at the cost to make sure that it is truly cost effective.
In doing
And it's-
research,
and-
the cost was actually lower than other consultants would have submitted.
Can I ask what research, because we weren't.
Just speaking with our administrators who, previously dealt with consultations of this fashion.
Yeah. So I'm gonna ask if we can table this and not vote on this today.
I would like to go ahead forward with the vote.
Okay.
If it doesn't pass, then we can move on to, like Plan B or the like. But I think we should probably go ahead, give it a vote, and go from there.
All right.
All right. Anybody have any other questions?
I'm looking, I also looked at the $6,000. I thought it was a lot. But in looking at it, I mean, I have evaluated people before, but I do feel that we as a board need help in doing that. And if ESC can give us the guidance for that 1 year, I'm only looking at 1 year, that after that 1 year, we should be able
To pick it back up and do it again the way we've done it the last 9 years.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
We should be able to pick it up.
Exactly.
Agreed.
So, I'm for getting Steve to help us maintain that goal, because that is our goal. That is our goal too, that we can do it on our own, as a group.
Mr. Chair, if I may, we've taken care of this board evaluations on our own since
Right.
I've been on the board for 8.5 years. And to the point Member Gator made, last year was the first time we've had any contention with an evaluation.
Right.
So as I shared with you before one-on-one, it is my greatest desire to echo what Ms. Barber said. This year, because of the new member joining the board, that you follow this. It is a steep price for what we already know how to do. We have 2 members on the board that have done this for a very long time, and I know one of us is exiting. So if we have to put this to a vote tonight without any further discussion, it is my greatest desire and ask as I exit that this be a learning opportunity where the board as a whole with the new member take the time to truly learn how to do what we've been doing. The templates are in place. It's following policies that we already have in place that have been set by the Ohio Revised Code. So that's my only ask, is that this be a learning experience where everybody takes responsibility at this table for learning how to do this the right way. And it will be a helpmate to the new school board member.
Agree.
May I ask one more question really quick, and then you can go to the vote. So did we get feedback from Steve Farnsworth about the retreat? Because I didn't see anything. And I got the impression that some feedback was shared with maybe you and Rock and Jolly about the retreat.
He sent the information to myself, Dr. Rock and Mr. Jolly, that we would have to discuss in executive session. It would have to be an executive session for that discussion. So we need to schedule that to go over those things.
Okay.
So my understanding is President saying that there has to be an executive session, just like with the evaluations, to review what his findings were, or what the
To
report,
review
what Steve wrote on the evaluations. So
It's write-up of what he shared, of what was shared during the retreat.
Okay, so we will add that to an upcoming agenda.
To an upcoming meeting, we'll add an executive session in which we'll go over that information.
And then with that executive session, will we also have a discussion about board goals, the superintendent and treasurer's goals, and hopefully board approving those as well? Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
Cool. Thank you very much.
All right. Any other questions, comments? All right, hearing none. Dr. Rock, will you please call the roll?
Mrs. Moon,
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Mrs. Gator,
I'm gonna say yes.
Mr. Roberts.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Next, that takes us to item 7, unfinished business, which I see none. Next, we have new business. Item 8.1, the Ohio State University John Glenn Leadership Academy. Mr. Freeman, would you like to give us some information on this?
Yes, Mr. President. I'm proud to represent this district in everything I do, but I'm more proud, and the mayor's here today. The Ohio State University, Tracy's alma mater, Karen and Brad has invited me to actually sit in on a week actual leadership academy with John Glenn on the Ohio State campus. Liz Waters, the Democratic chair of Ohio, has put in, along with the Ohio School Board Association, to have me represent Warrensville and sit on that for a week process from July 22nd through July 25th. So, hello? Oh. So I'm proud to been asked and invited to be in that. I will be there next month. Dr. Rock has talked to Dr. Greg Moody along with Alicia. So I'm all booked and ready to go. But it's a good time. I think our Congresswoman Chantel Brown's been there. Mayor, did you ever go, Mayor? Mayor, did you ever go to OSU, the Leadership Academy? No. It's just a good time to represent. The last two OSBA presidents, Christine Warnick in Toledo, and now Sally Green, they have went through this actual academy over 5 days. So it's a good program. And the cost is like $200, I think, Mr. Rock.
Yes, it's everything else, it's just a registration fee, but everything else is covered.
They pay for my boarding and my meals for the 5 days.
Just want to clarify something. Is this OSBA that recommended you, or I thought I heard you say the mayor recommended? Who's recommending?
It's recommended from Democratic Party from Ohio, Liz Walters, along with OSBA.
Gotcha. Okay, well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Ray.
Congratulations, Ray.
I feel like this is a great honor for you, the board, and the city. So congratulations, and as you always do, I know you'll represent us well. So board, do we have a motion to approve the attendance of Mr. Freeman to this academy?
Mr. Chair, I move that with the board approves the attendance of Mr. Freeman to attend the July 22nd through 26th Ohio State University John Glenn Leadership Academy.
I second that.
All right, it's been properly moved and seconded. Dr. Rock, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Mrs. Moon,
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mrs. Gator,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Congratulations, Mr. Freeman.
Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda will be correspondence. Do we receive any correspondence, Mr. John and Dr. Rock?
No.
Okay. Any announcements?
You have to put, on 8.2.
No announcements? Okay. All right, at this time, I would like to reluctantly address the addition to the agenda that we have, and I ask if there is a motion to accept the resignation of Ms. Mitchell.
I move that we accept the resignation of Tracy Mitchell.
And I'm debating whether I want to second it or not. I'm gonna second it.
All right, it's been properly moved and seconded. Before we take this vote, we would like to present to you and have you read this resolution.
One of our resolutions, I think the mayor's has some too. Mayor Sellers has one too. I can read it though, too. I'll read it. Resolution from the Warrensville Heights Board of Education. Whereas Tracy Mitchell has dedicated 8 years of outstanding service to the Warrensville Heights City School District as a valued board member, and whereas Mrs. Mitchell is a lifelong resident of Warrensville Heights, currently served her 3rd term on the board of Warrensville Heights City School District, and whereas Ms. Mitchell earned her Bachelor's of Arts degree from the Ohio State University with a focus on organizational communication, and whereas her unwavering commitment and contribution have significantly benefited the scholars, staff, and community of the Warrensville Heights City School District, and whereas her leadership and dedication has been instrumental in advancing the goals and mission of our district, including the strategic financing and construction of new facilities for the entire school community. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the Warrensville Heights City School Board of Education hereby honor and express its deepest appreciation to Tracy Mitchell for her exceptional service, commitment, and contributions to our district. Adopted this day, June 26th, by the Warrensville Heights City Board of Education.
On behalf of the City of Warrensville Heights, I bring you a proclamation honoring the distinguished service of Tracy Mitchell. Whereas Tracy Mitchell has been a pillar of the Fairfax neighborhood in Cleveland, Ohio, serving as the executive director of the PNC Fairfax Connection, a community resource center that provides invaluable free services to empower local residents and businesses. And whereas Tracy Mitchell's career in financial services spans over 39 years, during which he has demonstrated exceptional leadership, vision, and dedication. And whereas, since joining PNC in 2008, as Vice President of Brand Management, Tracy Mitchell has consistently delivered outstanding results, culminating in her recent role as Vice President of Sales and Client Experience, where she's led the transformative organizational change management initiative. And whereas Tracy Mitchell expertise encompasses project management, marketing, programming, and communications, all of which have significantly contributed to the success and growth of PNC's initiatives. Whereas Tracy Mitchell has devoted numerous years to the betterment of youth in her own community, and throughout her involvement with nonprofits such as Shoes and Clothes for Kids, and Dance Cleveland, as well as her dedicated work with youth ministries at Affinity and Missionary Baptist Church. And whereas Tracy Mitchell has been a lifelong resident of Warrensville Heights, Ohio, and entirely served her community through her commitment to the Warrensville Heights City School District Board, now in her 3rd term. And whereas Tracy Mitchell is a proud alumni of the Ohio State University, holding a Bachelor of Arts degree in Organizational Communication, which has underpinned her professional success and community contributions. And whereas Tracy Mitchell, after years of dedicated service and impactful leadership on the Warrensville Heights City School District Board, is retiring in 2024, leaving behind a legacy of commitment, empowerment, and transformational change. Now, therefore, be it resolved on this 26th day of June that we extend our deepest gratitude and best wishes to Tracy Mitchell as she embarks upon a well-deserved retirement, and with the hope that she will continue to inspire and positively impact those around her in all her future endeavors. Signed on this day, the 26th day of June 2024, by City of Warrensville Heights, Mayor Bradley D. Sellers.
Praise.
Mayor Booker,
Just stepped out.
Mo, you want to say something? Karen.
Thanks for calling me up, I appreciate it. I just wanted to say that Tracy and I have been childhood friends from 5th grade, and then we became roommates at the Ohio State University. And we've had a great run. And I will tell you, besides, I'll say,
Me coming back home, grew up in Warrensville, just like you know,
Mhm.
coming back home, and my friend then became my mentor. It was like, ah, should I come back home? What do you think? And she gave the best advice. And I'm so glad I made that transition. And as the mayor said, it's time for you to come back home and serve. I just wanted to be just like you. So, congratulations.
Thank you.
In Florida, and I know you're going to have a wonderful life there.
Making me cry.
I just wanted to take a moment and congratulate my friend, my sister, because Tracy and I over the years have actually become brother and sister. Her attitude is infectious. She doesn't know in how many different ways she has molded me and made me a better person. That's both in and outside of the church, because she and I belong to the same church. We're going to miss her voice, that beautiful singing voice at church. But Tracy, I wish you the very best. You deserve it more than anyone I know. So congratulations. Make sure we stay in touch, which I know we will. And all the best to you. Thank you.
You want to say something? Okay.
I can start. This is, you never know that this day would come, but when I talked to the mayor, coming back to the school, like my sister Karen said, to come back to Warrensville, I bleed blue and gold. And the first person I called, Mimi, and I was like, and I know they recruited her before. I was like, we need Tracy on this board. If I'm coming back, I need my sister. And Tracy, no, I called her. She said, Ray, they called me. And many people, and even the mayor was trying to get Tracy to get on this board many years ago with Miss Gay. And Tracy's like, well, I got my son. And she didn't do it, but I'm glad she did, because I wouldn't be who I am without her. So thank you, Tracy.
Well, I can't follow all of that, but I always say God put people in your life for a reason, and He put Tracy in your life. We are a team. No matter where she goes, we're gonna still be the team. I love her because she guided us for so many years. And if there was a question or a concern, she would call me, and I really enjoyed that because she kept us all abreast of what was going on. And that what makes a good leader. And I hope and pray to Almighty God that wherever you line up, you will be loved as you are loved in Warrensville. You are one of the most fantastic people that I have met. And I'm just so proud that I have became a part of your life.
Thank you. Tracy, Ms. Barber mentioned the word guidance, and from the time I joined this board, that's what I feel like you've given me the most. I mean, you've given me your friendship and help, but that guidance to just not myself, but to this entire board, instilling those concepts of board governance, I mean, was like very instrumental to my early understanding of how this board should function. And since this transition to me being the board president, you've been tremendously helpful in me assuming this role. I thank you for all of your input. I have to say it again, your guidance, your help, and your kindness. You're a really good person, Tracy. So I just want to thank you very much. All right.
Can I just sit here? So I've written a letter of resignation, but this is really hard because this is home. So just bear with me because this is my last heartfelt goodbye, but it's not a goodbye. It's just to see y'all later because my mom and dad are still here.
Okay.
I got to come home every year for the all class reunion. So y'all will see me next March, May. And so this is what I had written briefly. Dear Board Chair Roberts, board team, and the entire Warrensville Heights City School District school community, it is with great sadness that I am rendering my resignation this evening. Today's meeting will be my last date of service as a board member for this great district. I've enjoyed 8.5 years of service as a board member, working with an amazing board, district administration, educators, community partners, and I see y'all here, and our community at large. Together, we made great strides as we elevated our academic standing, raised 5 school buildings, built 3 new state-of-the-art 21st century and beyond academic campuses, drove a cultural shift. We survived COVID and built a district that all of us can be proud of. As I relocate out of state, I look forward to watching this team continue to perform at high levels with integrity and compassion. I hope each of you will always keep our moral imperative top of mind. Students come first. I wish you all the best. I wish you all the best. And I will miss everybody more than you can ever know. Young man, as you start your career in Warrensville, you have to understand we're family. We are truly one vision, one team, one goal. And when you cut any of us, we all bleed blue and gold. Step into your new role proudly. Make this district proud and take care of our scholars. I want to thank everybody for your kind comments. Thank you for being here tonight. And I'm gonna miss y'all. I really am. Thank you, guys.
This is the most bitter vote I've ever called for, Dr. Rock. We still have the motion on the floor. Dr. Rock, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Moomin,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell?
Yep.
Mrs. Gator? Mr. Roberts?
Yes, the motion passes 5-0, and we resignation of member Tracy Mitchell. At this time, there's nothing left except to call for a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chair, I call for tonight's adjournment.
Have a second.
A second.
Been properly moved and seconded. Dr. Rock, will you please call the roll?
Can I make one last statement, please?
Go right ahead.
Mr. Jolly, it's so great that we all work as great leaders. And Mr. Jolly always leans on me and says, lean on your experience, lean on your experience. So we were talking today, and I've actually worked with 32 board members.
Wow.
And I have to say, I forgot about the other 27 real fast. So, these are my five favorite board members. But a job well done to Ms. Mitchell. Thank you so much. And, in my position, I could sit once removed, even though you're my bosses. It's still Mr. Jolly and my responsibility to make sure we lead the district where it has to go, no matter what, And so we get to stand back and watch and make sure that everything's going good. And we've hit advanced finance things that are just beyond. I mean, these are going to go in my book. So job well done. Thank you, Ms. Mitchell.
Following our adjournment, we're going to have a short video tribute. Please remain or 4 punch cupcake and cake.
Okay.
We need to vote on the adjournment.
Yep, you ready?
Yep.
First call, Miss Mitchell,
Yes.
Mrs. Moomin,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Mrs. Gator,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts.
Yes.
And I get to gavel for the last time. This meeting is adjourned.
Board members, can I get y'all down here for a picture together? Invite you guys as well, down here for a picture.
Mike.
We need people to eat that cake. Right.
We got, I guess it's food we gotta eat, people.
Eat the cake, anime.
Eat the cake, anime.
Just take your time.
Y'all eat cake, eat cake.
Oh, yeah, yeah, that's you. Always. Man, two things rub together. Oh, we don't. It's a whole. The whole team. Everybody. RTA board, doppling board, every board is the same dude. Then they put a nominating committee together. That's what I got on there. So they put a nominating committee together. Who do they go see?